six cervical vertebrae, forming what is called the laryngeal prominence or the Adam apple. At this level, the larynx is triangular in cross section, while lower down at the level of the cricoid cartilage, the larynx is circular in cross section. It begins opposite the hyoid bone and ends below the level of the sixth cervical vertebra, where the trachea begins. What are the relations of the larynx? Anterolaterally, there is a thyroid gland and covered by the infrahyoid muscle and investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. Laterally, carotid sheath with its content, and posteriorly, pharynx. The structure or the skeleton of the larynx. The larynx form of number of the cartilage. First, the beard cartilage, arytenoid, cuneiform, and corniculate cartilage. Second, impaired thyroid, cricoid, and epiglottis cartilage. These cartilages articulate with each other at the cricothyroid joint and cricoarytenoid joint. And this picture shows all the cartilage of the larynx. First, started with thyroid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage formed of two quadrilateral lamina united anteriorly at the angle of 120 degree in the female and 90 degree in the male. It means the Adam apple or the laryngeal prominence is more prominent in male than the female. The angle form what is called the laryngeal prominence or the Adam apple with a V-shaped gap above it called thyroid node. The free posterior border extends superiorly and inferiorly to form the superior and inferior horn. And an oblique line extends from the superior horn downwards and forward direction to the inferior horn, and this oblique line gives attachment to the thyrohyoid, sternothyroid, and thyropharyngeus muscle. The inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage articulate with the cricoid cartilage at what is called the cricothyroid joint. And the upper border and superior horn give attachment to the thyrohyoid membrane. The lower border and the inferior horn give attachment to the cricothyroid membrane. At the posterior aspect of the laryngeal prominence or the Adam apple from the inner side, the epiglottis cartilage, it is attached to the thyroid cartilage by the thyroepiglottic ligament in the midline. And this is the epiglottic cartilage. Second single cartilage, it is a cricoid cartilage. It is lies at the lower border of the larynx. It has the shape of the signet ring. The broad posterior lamina and narrow anterolateral arch, as you can see in this picture. This is the lamina and this is the arch. The cricoid cartilage articulate with the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage at its lateral surface to form what is called cricothyroid joint. Also articulate with the arytenoid cartilage at the upper border of the lamina, and this is the arytenoid cartilage, articulate with the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. Other articulation, which is called the conus elasticus and cricothyroid ligament, are attached to the upper surface of the cricoid cartilage. The cricothyroid and lateral cricoarytenoid muscle are attached to the outer surface of the cricoid cartilage, and posterior cricoarytenoid muscle pass to the back of the lamina, which means posterior to the lamina. This picture shows the cricoid cartilage and the attachment of these muscle and arytenoid cartilage. So this is what is called thyroarytenoid muscle, cricothyroid muscle, this part, and this is the lateral cricoid and posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, which I mentioned it's at the second lecture later on. The arytenoid cartilage, which is a paired cartilage, they have the shape of three sides pyramid, which is the medial, posterior, and anterolateral surfaces, and the base, which is articulate, the base articulate with the cricoid cartilage, especially in the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. The anterior border of the arytenoid cartilage give attachment to the what is called aryepiglottic membrane, and the muscular process of the arytenoid cartilage of the base give attachment to the lateral and posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. The anterior process of the base, which is called the vocal process, give attachment to the vocal ligament, and the anterolateral surface give attachment to the thyroarytenoid muscle. This is the arytenoid cartilage, this one and this one disappear, and this is what is called the vocal process, and this one is the muscular process, and this is the base articulate with the lamina of the cricoid cartilage, and this is anterior process, the apex of the pyramid. It is articulate with the corniculate cartilage above. The epiglottic muscle attached to the apex of the arytenoid cartilage, and it is a continuous downward and medially to the back of the cartilage of the opposite side as the oblique arytenoid muscle. The transverse arytenoid muscle passes between the posterior surface of the two arytenoid cartilage, and you can see these muscles in this picture. The other single cartilage is the epiglottic cartilage, and it is a leaf-shaped cartilage attached inferiorly to the back of the laryngeal prominence, and its free upper end project upward behind the tongue. The anterior and posterior surface are covered by the mucous membrane. Its two sides give attachment to the epiglottic membrane and the thyroepiglottic and aryepiglottic muscle. What are the membranes of the larynx? The laryngeal membrane first is the thyrohyoid membrane, which is attached with the hyoid bone above and downward. It is attached to the thyroid cartilage. So they call thyrohyoid membrane. And the thyrohyoid membrane passes from the upper border of the thyroid cartilage to the upper border of the hyoid bone, passing behind the bone, separated from it by bursa. The thyrohyoid membrane show one median and two lateral thyrohyoid ligament. The thyrohyoid ligament, it is pierced by the superior laryngeal artery and internal laryngeal nerve. And the thyrohyoid membrane form the lateral boundaries of the piriform recessive or the fossa, or sometimes they call piriform sinus. It is the same. It is about the cricothyroid ligament, or sometimes called membrane. The cricothyroid ligament, which is also known as the cricothyroid membrane, it is composed of two parts. Median cricothyroid ligament along the midline, a thickening of the cricothyroid membrane, and the lateral cricothyroid ligament on the each side, and sometimes called or conus elasticus. So the conus elasticus means the lateral cricothyroid ligament, which is located on the each side. The conus elasticus, or what is called the lateral cricothyroid membrane on each side, the lower attachment is the whole length of the upper border of the cricoid arch. The three upper border, it is attached on either side to the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage, forming what is called the vocal fold or a true vocal cord, which contain in its free upper border the vocalis muscle fiber. Anteriorly, it is attached to the back of the thyroid cartilage in the angle between the two lamina in the midline, midway between the superior and inferior nodes, covering the curved membrane to the between the superior and inferior nodes to converting the curved membrane to the V-shaped membrane, which contain these two vocal cords. Yes. Anteriorly, the attachment of this membrane to form the fold to involve the vocal cord. It is attached to the back of the thyroid cartilage at the angle between the two lamina. Between two lamina of the thyroid, midway between the superior and inferior nodes. No, it is attached between the superior and inferior nodes to convert this between these two parts to the curved membrane into V shape. So in this picture, just in this picture, you can see to the V shape converting of this part. That's to not this one. And in the practice, it is very clear. عندنا سبيسيمنت كلش واضح بلاستينيتد، نموذج بلاستينيتد، وإن شاء الله أنا راح أسجل فيديو على this blastinated specimen to clear this fault. Other membrane, which is what's called the quadrate membrane, the attachment of the quadrate membrane, posterior border of this quadrate membrane, it is attached to the anterior surface of the arytenoid cartilage, and the anterior border, it is attached to the sides of the lower half of the epiglottis. The upper free border will extend between the epiglottis and the arytenoid cartilage, forming what is called epiglottic fold. And within the epiglottic fold, between arytenoid fold and epiglottis fold, for the corniculate and cuneiform cartilage. So within the epiglottic fold, there is cuneiform cartilage and corniculate cartilage within this fold. The lower free border will be parallel to the upper free border of the conus elasticus, or what is called the lateral cricothyroid ligament, and which is called the true vocal fold, forming what is called the vestibular fold or the false vocal cord. And this is very clear with the internal structure of the larynx. I describe the internal structure of the larynx, and these fold and membrane, it is very clear in the internal aspect of the larynx. So, what is the interior aspect of the larynx? First, the isthmus, or the superior opening of the larynx. It is bounded anteriorly by the epiglottic and epiglottic fold, and posteriorly by the arytenoid cartilage, the apex of the arytenoid cartilage, and transverse arytenoid muscle. So the isthmus, or the opening of the larynx, which you can see it by the laryngoscope. It is formed anteriorly by the epiglottic and epiglottic folds, and posteriorly by the apices, or the apex of the arytenoid cartilage and transverse arytenoid muscle. Within the larynx, there are two paired or parallel horizontal folds, which is I mentioned before. These folds, upper pair, which is called vestibular fold or false vocal cord, and the lower paired fold, which is called the vocal fold or true vocal cord. The gap between the vocal fold is called rim glottis, Riemann glottis, which is the opening which is located between the vocal fold. And this is very clear in the laryngoscopic picture. So you can see this is the vocal fold, true vocal fold, and here lower down is the vestibular fold. These are the vestibular fold, or what is called the vocal. This picture of laryngoscope. And here, this one, the vocal fold addicted when talking or singing. So this clues, this here it is abducted, and here the vocal cord it is adducted. So the description for the previous slide about this structure. So don't worry about the previous structure, how it is extend, because something What is about the cavity of the larynx? It means the interior of the larynx. What are the structure you can see within the cavity of the larynx? First, the from the start, from the opening, from the isthmus or the opening of the larynx, you can see the vestibule, which is extend from the elect laryngeal implant or isthmus to the vestibular fold. So from the inlet to the vestibular fold, what is called vestibule. So the vestibule extend from the isthmus or the laryngeal inlet to the vestibular fold. To the vestibular fold. What are the boundaries or vestibule? Anterior wall is the posterior surface of the epiglottis. Lateral wall is the epiglottic folds, and posteriorly wall is the arytenoid cartilage. Second thing, what is called the ventricles, and the ventricles of the cavity of the larynx, the space which is located between the vestibular and vocal fold, between the vestibular and vocal fold. This is the vestibular and the vocal fold, and here it is the ventricle. And the ventricle extend upward to form a saccule, extend upward this to form a saccule. So this is the ventricle and this is the saccule. Extend upward to form, as I said, the saccule. The mucous gland in the saccule lubricates the vocal cord. So what is the function of the saccule? The saccule contains the mucous gland, which is lubricate the vocal cord. Below, it is called the subglottis, and it is extend from the vocal cord toward the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. So this is the interior structure or the structure within the cavity of the larynx, the vestibule, ventricle, and subglottis. And here the vestibule and the ventricle, and this is area which is called subglottic area. And thank you very much for your listening. The next lecture of the larynx about the muscle of the larynx.